Hello and welcome to Fearless DIY Music. My name is Tristan Lass, and today we're going to begin our journey on relicing that classic vibe 1950s Strat. It's a 2016. I made a video about it that I'll link down below about my plans to relic this particular guitar. In this video, we'll be covering the hardware and how I went about going ahead and putting some age on it. We will be probably doing the body next. The weather's been really terrible where I'm at, so getting the necessary materials to do the relic job on that and the method that I wanted to use has been delayed a little bit, so we're starting with the hardware. All right, so the first step that I took was to go ahead and strip the guitar down and get all the screws and the vibrato system and every little bit of hardware off of the body of the guitar. I do want to put right up front that I'm not planning to do anything much to the tuners. I have gone ahead and roughed them up a little bit with a little bit of sandpaper and then buffed them back out with steel wool just to make them look a little bit aged. But in my experience with my poly guitars in the past is that the machine heads usually don't show much age because that's not the area of the guitar that I was sweating on. I always sweated on the body, and when I was playing live, everything turned to rust within a few months, basically, of any guitar that I had, especially the bridge. So what I did was I stripped all of the screws and all of the hardware off of the body, removed the pick guard, and then I took all of the wood screws and sunk them into a block of wood so that it would be easy to sand the tops of the screws. Because the first thing that you want to do to put age on those screws is to remove the top layer of the finish on the screw. Because eventually that's going to wear out, or your sweat, or just the atmospheric conditions that you're playing in or the guitar is stored in will eventually eat through that. So to replicate the aging process, I sanded those off, sanded the finish off, and then set those aside as I went forward with the next part of the aging process, which was to remove some of the finish off of the bridge. To do so, and on basically the neck plate as well, I used a wire wheel and went ahead, fired that up, and just ran the bridge up and down the wire wheel a little bit just to get some of that finish off to prepare it for the patina process. I did the same on the neck back plate, and just to put some little bit of scratching in it, try to put a little bit of age on it, and I did the same with the output jack cover. So now the first stage of the entire process is to rough things up. I do want to put this out front. The solution that I use to age the hardware doesn't necessarily need a whole lot of scratching or roughing up. In fact, I think that you could actually put some of the pieces into the solution without having to rough it up hardly at all. But I would advise at least scuffing it with some really fine grit sandpaper or using a wire wheel just to help that process happen a little bit quicker. But you don't have to go crazy with it. If I had to do it all over again, I think I would have gone a little lighter up front with the way that I roughed up everything. All right. So once you have all of the screws and all of the hardware scuffed to your liking, and you could do a really light relic or you could do a really heavy relic. I erred on the side of doing this process going really heavy, and if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have erred more towards being medium to light. I do like the results that I have, but they're fairly extreme, and I thought that that would be more fun for the video to just be like, okay, we're just gonna really take it all the way. So once you have all your stuff roughed up and ready to put into the solution, and I did make a little short as to, okay, these are household, items that we're going to use for this solution, and the mystery one in this little container is just white wine vinegar. So we've got vinegar right here. We have just table salt. This is sea salt by default, and then 3% hydrogen peroxide solution. So the way that I make this slurry that we're going to put all that roughed up hardware into is I start and I put some vinegar into my container, Then I add enough salt to basically cover the bottom of the container. And then, so about half vinegar, and then once you get everything in there, so you would take all of your hardware, like let's say this bridge or whatever, put it into your container with the vinegar and the salt, let that sit for a little while, and then once you have all of your parts in here and you're ready to go, add the 50% hydrogen peroxide solution. So it's 50% vinegar, 50% hydrogen peroxide, and your salt. But do the vinegar and salt first. Then when you're ready to actually watch it, you go ahead and put your hydrogen peroxide in. And that's where the fun begins. You'll start to see bubbles come up. The container will heat up a little bit. And this is all safe. There's not going to be toxic fumes, nothing crazy going on. If you feel like it, put on some rubber gloves. But you don't have to go crazy with this. This is just, very simple stuff. And then it starts to oxidize all of the metal. So you will start seeing, brown around the edges of the container, and then it's going to start to bubble. And once that foam gets good and thick, you really don't need to leave the parts in there much longer than anywhere from 3 to maybe 6 minutes. I left them in for about 5 minutes. I probably would have pulled them a little bit sooner, knowing what I know now about exactly how this cheap Chinese hardware is going to react to that stuff. So you then take and use a utility sink or something like that, because you probably don't want to dump this stuff down your kitchen drain or whatever. Or just, outdoors with the hose if the weather's nice. And then you just rinse that solution off and then let everything air dry. And you end up with highly patinaed hardware. And I'm going to go, I've got pictures coming up all over the place during this video, but I'm going to try to bring this up to the camera so you can see. And turn my head away. And what we have here is we have a rusted, dull looking vibrato bridge system. So, this is the bridge system from the guitar. It looks as though it has been played for years and years. It has brown rust on it right now. And then we go into, all the screws, which I just dropped 2 of. All the screws are nice and rusty. Our jack plate as well has a nice, basically patina on it. All of the shiny chrome is long gone. Now here is where I messed up a little bit. On the neck back plate, I whacked it with a hammer in a few places and kind of put deep scratches in it and sanded around the edges a little bit. And I think that effect is just kind of, I went too far. I don't think this turned out as great as I'd hoped. If I had to do it all over again with this particular part, I just would have thrown it in the solution and let it get dull like I did with the jack plate. But, it's part of the journey and we'll just roll with it. And so there you have it. That's kind of how you would, it's a very simple household, solution, easy to make, non-toxic. I mean, you don't want to be like huffing it. There is definitely a chemical reaction involved, but it's nothing extreme. And then, you only do it for about 5 minutes and then pull everything out. I'm super happy with the rust that I got on everything. And I'm happy with the patina and the metal itself, because it does, eat away some of that, some of that chrome. And it looks really good in my opinion, and I think it's going to look great up against the body of the guitar once I put everything back together. However, let's go back to that bridge. Would I play a guitar with a bridge that looks like this? No. I have ended up with a lot of guitars that have bridges that look like this. A lot of my Strats that were played a lot on stage for 30 years, 35 years, and they get all rusty, and I put them away for a couple years in a case, and I open it up, and this is what I see. This is not how I'm going to install this on the guitar. In fact, all of this nice rusty hardware is not going to remain like this. It's part of the aging process. Now, it would end up like that, and then if you do no maintenance to the guitar, of course, it would look like that, and you'd have rust all over your guitar. So what I do, whenever I come across, or I'm cleaning up or restoring an instrument of mine that I've had in storage for a long time, and then I open it up and it has this kind of crap all over it, what I do is I hit it with WD-40. So that's what's going to happen to all this stuff. It may seem crazy. Okay, so we went to the trouble of rusting everything, and now we're going to take the rust off. Yes, we are, because underneath that rust will be the metal patina. You know, some parts will be black, some will be kind of a dull silver, maybe a little of the chrome creeps back. But putting that WD-40 on there, and I can see it right now, makes this look exactly like the bridge on that guitar down there that has been rusted over at least 2 or 3 times, buffed back out with the Dremel and some WD-40. So there you go. That is the process for relicing hardware that I used in this particular project. So you basically buff everything, scuff it up, not buff, but scuff everything up, put it in the solution, take it out, let it air dry, see how rusty it is, and then decide if you're keeping some of the rust or if you're going to do what I do and, restore it by putting some WD-40 on it. You're going to end up with a nice aged product. And you can do as little of this or as much of this as possible. Like I said, I did a fairly extreme relic, and just because I wanted to see what would happen. And I'm happy with the results so far. We'll see how it all looks once it goes back into the guitar, once I have the body and the neck done. I believe that the next video we're going to see will be the body patina. And hopefully the weather will cooperate, and I'll get on that ASAP. All right, if you made it this far into the video, please hit like and subscribe. Shares and likes are greatly appreciated. And in the comment section, what do you think about this process? Are there ways that you have done it that may be better or yield a different result? All right, you take care, hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time.